This is the Power Hour. Welcome. And hello, and welcome to Power Hour now 268. 268 is this one? That's a lot of water under the bridge. It's 268 hours we've done of Power Hours from every conceivable topic. So we got that. Let me give you the outline of the show and go get the presentation here loaded just so it's ready to go when we're ready. So normally what we do is we do the first half hour. So at the bottom of the hour, I'll do everything up to then we take a break about 5 minutes. I'll introduce some things to you. Everything that I talk about or that is important is going to be in the chat. So the wings credit will also be in the chat near the end of the show. So it won't be there until near the end, but you can click onto that. And then when you click onto it, you've got to leave your email, I believe your name, and we automate all this stuff. So basically, we make a big spreadsheet out of it, and that gets uploaded to the FA, so we don't have to do these individually. That's why we do it like that. So that's the only way you can get Wings credit is by clicking that link, which you'll find in the chat. So that's that. And today's topic is going to be you're planning to get basically your first cross country flight using ForeFlight, and we're going to kind of tear into that. I'm going to show you some things within the ForeFlight subscription at Performance Plus level that probably after I show it to you, I think ForeFlight's going to make some money today, because I always encourage people to get ForeFlight at the highest level subscription if you're teaching with it. Now, if you're just flying with it, you may not need that, but well, it could be. Well, I'll show you, and then you can decide, right? So you're going to get a tour of the more advanced features of ForeFlight and some of the things that it can do that maybe you didn't know. So that's going to be the structure of it. So I put together a presentation. It's around 20 of these slides, and it basically is going to regroup, talk about, or state again what I'm going to tell you. So my dilemma when I thought about how to do this presentation was, do I just step through the presentation first quickly, or do I just go straight to the iPad and use the presentation as a wrap up? That was my thing. So I think what I can do is I think I can step through it and first, so you have a basis, and say, don't pay attention to all the details. So don't try to follow through. People, if you try to follow along with your iPad, you're just going to get lost, probably. Now, there may be a particular feature, because what happens is, this is why you have to watch people when you teach them. When you're teaching people, you have to see what they're doing. Because a lot of people, they're not content unless they're reading exactly what you're saying at the same time. They're making notes about things you just talked about, not what you're talking about now. So you have to be careful that you don't give new information when people are taking notes or living in the past. So a lot of people, when they're screwing around with something I just said on an iPad, they push some button, then they get lost in it for a second. Now, where is that again? Then anything I say new, they don't hear. Nothing. They hear only know that thing. They're not content until they get to the end of that. So I would encourage you not to do that, and to later to use the presentation as your guide, so you have time with it, and you can just appreciate what features are there, and that is within the realm of possibility for you to do it, and then you go from there. So hopefully that'll get you what not to do. So if you got the presentation, which should be in the chat, and you have it open and you're stepping through it, there's something called redundancy principle, which means if you're reading what basically I'm saying and I'm talking at the same time, what people remember is not very much from that. So that's called redundancy principle. So I would encourage you just to listen and to let me drive it here, and then we get through it. All right, so there's that. That's what we teach you at CFI Bootcamp, how to teach, right? So so this is creating your first cross-country flight with ForeFlight. This is the end-to-end process. Now, there are some points in here that I might have, I don't know if I left it on purpose or not, but we'll see when we get there. But the presentation is complete. We'll just see what we get there. So getting your ForeFlight ready. So the first thing you'll need to get is a subscription. Of course, then you have to download the latest, whatever the package is. And every so often you have to do that as well. So it will, if an FA handbook updates or if ACS updates, then ForeFlight keeps track of those, and they will also update their section in the documents tab, and then the charts will be updated, right? All the charts. So I would encourage you then to get ForeFlight at the highest level subscription. It's called Performance Plus. It looks like it's for jets only, but there are some things in there which I'm going to be showing you in the course of this hour, which are only available at that subscription level. And when a feature is only available at a particular subscription level I'll tell you, right? So that you'll know. Because some people will be frustrated. They see something, they're following along like I told them not to, and they see they can't tap it or there's not there. And that's because you have a different subscription level. And sometimes it's not worth changing because you may be like if you work for CAP, they give you a version of it, and that's what you get. If you're in the military, you get a particular version of it. So, and you can't really change that. So you may, some of the you're not going to be able to use those features. You'll need an internet connection because we'll need to get downloads. You don't need an internet connection, of course, while you're flying, or to use ForeFlight in general, but you'll need it to get updates. And then you're going to need to put in your aircraft profile. So that would be something I'll show you. We're not going to go through the entire process of it. I'm just going to show you where it's at because it's pretty self-explanatory to put the aircraft data, get that in there. And then you can assign it a call sign or multiple call signs of what we could have multiple profiles in there. There's no limit. And then if you have Performance Plus, you could put in the serial number of the airplane you fly. And if it has the POH for that airplane, then it will suck in all the data and all the performance data, right? So it can do that. All right, so when you do that, and then if we don't have that, we'll have to input in the performance data manually. But ForeFlight will step you through that process. It'll just ask you what the climb rate will be, what this will be, what that will be, what airspeeds you'll be using, that kind of thing. So you can tinker around with that till you get it how you like it. Now, for today's demo, I'm going to be using Performance Plus. It's the highest level subscription that ForeFlight offers. It's 300 and something. Yeah. But that's just kind of the way it is. We have 679 people. Okay, and there are certain features that you just can't get without it. If you're teaching flying, then you should definitely have Performance Plus because there are things on there that make teaching a bit more vibrant and a little easier. Okay. Okay, so let's move on. So this is the model. But I'll tell you if it's not available in the other models, I'll try to keep that live so you kind of understand it's not available in anything but this subscription. Now, while I'm here, if you join SAFE or NAFI, so Society of Aviation Flight Educators, safepilots.org, or NAFI, National Association of Flight Instructors, there is now currently a 15% discount offered to you. There used to be a third off ForeFlight, but now it's been reduced to 15%. If you're a CFI, they also have a CFI referral program now, which allows you to you get 20% off your subscription for the first person you refer to ForeFlight at higher than the basic level. And then after that, you get 5% per person. So you can, but you can't combine that and the 15%, unfortunately. So that's kind of not so great. But anyway, there's that. That's how you can get ForeFlight a little cheaper. Otherwise, I don't know another way. Okay, except for to get it for free by joining the CAP, or maybe you're in a school it's included in the price. The basic version of ForeFlight doesn't have what I'm going to be showing you quite a bit called profile view. You're going to see the profile of the route. So you'll need the middle level at least for that. And also, you don't have some extra layers in the profile view, like clouds, turbulence, icing. Those are not there. They're there, but they're grayed out. There are certain things that you can see, but you can't access them. So as we go, I'll show you what those look like. And we'll go to the iPad directly so we can actually plan a flight together. I have one kind of ready to go, but I'll give you all the data and how I did it and can reconstruct things as we go. But I think if I step through this presentation, it's probably a little better, and then we'll go directly to it. And then you can use this as a recap. Also, the basic and the not Performance Plus, they don't have 3D view or flights. You can't fly the route. I can actually fly the route, and you'll see satellite imagery of what we're flying over at the altitude we are. So that's kind of handy to review a flight, see if it's really the way you would think would be a good idea to go that way. You can now see it. So, and they use ForeFlight just enhanced their satellite imagery from Google, so it looks better even now. I just checked it the other day. So what ForeFlight can't do, when I say ForeFlight can't do, I almost want to put a yet in there because I can tell you that some of the things that people are working with AI will be able to solve these problems, right? We can almost solve them now. So it's just a matter of ForeFlight getting another year to do it. So basically, so I can't pick the best route yet. But if the AI knows your airplane, knows your performance capabilities, knows you, your personal minimums, knows all this stuff, then it could very well possibly pick a good route. And you could say what level of risk you want to assume. I think you would find it would be good at that. So, but it currently can't do that. It also can't apply risk management automatically. You're still involved in that. Risk management is very variable depending on what's risky for me, what's risky for you, what airplane we're in, the environment we're in. So there's a lot of moving parts to risk management. And you'll see what we're going to do in this flight. It's a very challenging scenario, okay? And then it can't work around your personal minimums because it doesn't know what those are and doesn't know how to apply those anyway. So I say yet. So I think this slide will be going away probably next year, as early as next year. So our first flight we're going to make is going to be from Bishop or from Palo Alto Airport, which is KPAO in Palo Alto, California, to Bishop. So it's Brava India Hotel, Kilo Bravo India Hotel. And it's a challenging flight. You can see that's kind of the broad stroke of it. You can see it goes from basically the Bay Area of San Francisco and goes to the Central Valley of California, then all of a sudden over some really rugged terrain called the Sierra Nevadas. And then it gets into a valley, the Owens Valley, and there's a Bishop over there. So this is a flight plan example we use in our initial CFI class. It's the first one they call, and we do it with a Cessna 172, which we're going to do today. And it becomes a 2-hour project for most people. We divide up in groups, and usually about 2 hours to crack it. So we have to do it faster than that. So that's okay because I already know the way I want to go. So that would not be the way I would go, right? Just so you know. Okay, so that's the where we're going here. These places. Good. And we're going to use a Cessna 172S model. So on my example, you can use whatever you want, but when in the class we usually use the Cessna 172 November model just to make it a little extra difficult, right? To make this thing happen. So anyway, but we'll use for this example 172 because I already have it loaded up in my ForeFlight anyway. All right, that I'm waiting on over here. It's looking at me. So some basic steps. So these are the basic steps of any flight plan we're going to do in ForeFlight, so you can get the basic idea. And I've showed you what the screens look like here. The first one, we're going to get a weather briefing. So we're going to kind of identify which way we want to go in general. We said that way. That way looks the best for terrain, or maybe we don't know the way yet because we don't know what the weather is yet. So we can get the weather. So we get a weather briefing, especially if we know the route specifically. And in ForeFlight, the way you get a weather briefing is you have to have, well, you have this open. This is the flight plan, FPL button up here. And your flight plan will be here. For my flight plan right now, it's simple. It's just from Palo Alto to Bishop. And then you tap this button. It's a share button. And when you get the share, you'll have a bunch of things you could do. You could email the flight plan or text it to somebody so they can see it too, right? You can share the flight plan via, so you click on the link in the text or email or AirDrop and pops the flight plan comes right into your iPad. So, but this is the one you want under flights, this one. And then from there, we're going to choose briefing, this box right here. And then once we do that, the ForeFlight will give us the weather briefing. It will give us a graphical usually, or it'll be if they can do a graphical method. If it's something like an AirMet SIGMET, that's pretty easy to do. TFRs, all that'll be graphical. There's some text, but it won't. It's in particular with the NOTAMs. And there's also a section. It's not on this particular one, but on the top, when they can do plain language, it'll have a slider bar up there for you to turn that on or off. So you got that. So you're going to basically get a weather briefing so you can decide whether this trip is even possible, right? So I have another way that you can do a quick scan of the sky. And for example, maybe if in this particular example, this was yesterday, and there were a lot of weather. There's a lot of weather in Northern California. And the trip was really not possible for VFR. And if we look at it, you can see why. I screen captured some of it. So it's a good day to have done this yesterday. Okay, we talked about that. This is the path, by the way. It's the flight plan button, then hit the share button, and then hit flights up here. And then you'll see the briefing thing should be pretty obvious. Okay, so the first thing I do, I built a plan, right? This is my plan to get there. So I didn't want to go over all the terrain. My choices would go north or south. Now I didn't check the weather at this point because I just pulled it up to show you how to do it, but I just selected the route based on what I know. So it could have been that the southern route was better, or if you're so bravened, you could try to go straight through there, which I wouldn't recommend, but you can, right? So on the right-hand side, then I've already pressed the flight plan button. It's up here at the top. So you can see I pressed it here. And up comes this, and I have some choices, edit, then I have something called profile. Now, if you don't have at least the pro version, you're not going to see the profile view. So this gives me the profile of the route, right? You also notice that I have two tops of climb. So ForeFlight can support multiple tops of climb right there. I put one here. First one, because I don't want to stay at 11,500 until I get where I need to be up here. So I did that, and it takes the performance data from my airplane that I've put in there, and it makes those calculations for me. In addition, the default switch that's on is airspace. So you can see this is a cross section, or just a side view, I guess, the corridor view of this airspace. It's Class B, and you have some other special use airspace and some Class Charlie I had on the way. And so you can click on those, and it will tell you those altitudes, right? So that's useful. You also can see the terrain. And where I'm within 1,000 feet of the terrain, it will be yellow. And where I'm within 100 feet of the terrain, it will be red. Right, so that we'll see. Now, this profile view has to have a width. So the default width is 4 nautical miles. So you're only seeing this profile is valid for my route here within 4 nautical miles of it. All right. And if you want to change it, there's a gear box up here to the right. And if you click onto that, there'll be an option to change the corridor width, right, up to 8 miles and lower if you want to. So sometimes you see an obstacle that's going to be 4 miles away and it looks like it's red. You know, it doesn't look like a good way to go, but it's 4 miles to the left of you. It's not on your track. So you can use it to find off things. If you want to put a top of climb in somewhere, you have to have a waypoint there. It has to be something that you put in either a point that it identifies like an intersection or a VOR or airport, or it's got to be you just drop the thing there and add that latitude, longitude to. I'll show you how to do that here in a second. And then, but you got to have that because that's the only way you can do it. Okay, you have to have the point. So at this point, obviously, I did something right there. And so what I did was I tapped onto the waypoint, whatever it was, whichever one of these it was, and I said this thing, set altitude, this sort of thing. And I say I had the choice of either start at or cross at. So I can either start climbing at that point, or I can already have I've done that, so I cross at that altitude, and I put the new altitude over there. And then from there, it will do the calculation for me. The thing to know about this, so you don't get burned, is this number over here is the initial altitude. And you can take it and you can slide it up and down to whatever altitude you want. That number has to be the lowest altitude in the whole plan, or it will bomb. And when I say it bombs, ForeFlight will do this. It will not only will your whole profile go away, the track, everything else will be right, but you won't be able to see this view anymore. But what will happen is when you try to recover it, it won't. So you can do whatever. You have to reboot ForeFlight and recreate the entire flight plan again. That's the only workaround. It's the only thing I've been able to find out to do. Now, maybe there's a better way, but so far I haven't found that to be. But I know this number has to be the lowest. You also cannot program a manual top of descent. It's going to do that for you. So in this particular case, sometimes there's terrain and we need to maybe go across over the airport even, go to the other side, do something. So we have to be a little creative and just sort of say, well, that's just ForeFlight doing our top of descent. We really can't change that much. So that's what we've got. So we can change the top of climbs though. All right. We said that. That's the path. And now some more things we can do. So I'm going to turn profile view on first, Steve, right after I get the briefing. So I'm not even going to look at the briefing right away. I'm just going to turn this flight plan right here, flight plan, and I put the profile to see the profile view. But notice what I did. Because I have Performance Plus, I had an option here called Clouds right here. And so what that did was that populated the forecast bases and tops of those clouds. And you can see them in gray. So I already know this flight's not possible to do VFR. So I didn't have to even look at the weather briefing, right? And then the other thing I did in the second view over here is I turned on turbulence and clouds. So now you can see it's going to be, this is light to moderate turbulence. Light, and the darker it gets, the more vibrant the color gets, the more turbulence you're going to have. So I've got that, right? So that's another. And again, the quarter width is 4 miles we're looking at. So these are options available in Performance Plus. Now there's also, you can get the winds loft, which will populate in here. show you an arrow, barb arrow with a number, how many knot, what temperature it is. You can also put an icing here. And when blue, it will show you the forecast bases and tops of the ice. So this I use for quick risk assessment and just a quick, like, is this even possible kind of view, right? That along with the radar. And then I go to the weather briefing because then if it looks like it's possible, then we can begin looking around and potentially planning it, right? So let's move on past there. Again, we can change the quarter width by the gear tool, and it will give us choices on what to do. I also have another feature within ForeFlight Performance Plus called Hazard Advisor. So this is the map view, right? Here, maps, and then you have layers up here, right here. So I have the layered in the sectional chart, and then I have something called Hazard Advisor on. And notice my route is here. And what I can do is there's a slider bar over here, and I can slide this up or down. So these colors then will begin to change. If I go high enough, you'll just see the sectional chart and nothing else. But where it's red, I would be within 100 feet of the ground, and it shows for the whole country at once. So it's not limited to your route of flight; it's the whole country. So I set it over here to what I was going to go at approximately, and it looks like that's going to be fine, right, for that altitude. So that's called Hazard Advisor. This is also the way to fly it. So once I've sort of created the route and my best judgment about what, if I pick a valley or go across the mountains or over a road, wherever I'm going to go, I build that in there. We'll do it here in a second. And then I fly it. So there's a button over here for Performance Plus right there, and it will show you the next page. I put it at 20x speed, and you get this. So now I'm flying in that route, and you can see that I'm at a pretty good altitude. If there's clouds out here, it will show you the clouds. If you're going to fly into them, and you can scrub the timeline ahead. Here's a turn with terrain coming up, and you can see, well, is this really a good plan? Is this really for example, some people would plan this route over Highway 50, which is goes from Sacramento to Truckee, right, to Lake Tahoe, Truckee, and it goes to to north to Lake Tahoe, right? So there. So at anyway, that particular way is not a very good way to go because there's a lot of traffic. It's a lot of times a two-lane road, and there's not a lot of segments where you actually land on it. So it's just, but you wouldn't know that. But if you use this tool, you may be able to see this. It doesn't look that great. If you go up Interstate 80, which is the way I went, then I don't know if you know, but a lot of interstate highways, depending on where they are, they were meant to be landed on. So you don't find overpasses, you don't find power, you don't find anything on those segments. So that's called the Interstate Defense Highway System. So there are places you can land. So going up to Reno, you'd be able to land on Interstate 80. I don't know how fun it would be, but you'd be able to land at some points. And there's Blue Canyon and another airport up Truckee Airport itself. So I'm more happy going that way. So we can do that. We can fly it at 20x speed or whatever speed you want. Down here is the tool. I picked 20. And we'll have tours of this in a second. The other thing, we can look and see what the airport looks like with 3D view. So there's a little button up here, 3D view. And if I click that, it will zoom into the airport, and then you can zoom around and look at the whole thing. So that helps you decide if it's a good airport to go to. There's also a comments tab over here. So that's a crowdsourced comment tab. So basically, when you go there, you're reading what pilots say about that place. So that's very handy for pre-flight planning because there might be something tricky there or something that, you'd be like, boy, if I only knew that ahead of time. Like a lot of times these self-serve fuel pumps, right? So you have to watch those because they may not work when you get there. And if they don't work when you get there, then you may not have enough fuel to go somewhere else. You got to call fuel, and who knows what happens. So anyway, sometimes in the comments section, you'll see things like that. Okay, that's where that's at. You can also turn on, which I do, TFRs and NOTAMs, and they will populate on your flight plan. Notice there's one here. This is by Beal. And so I turn these both on. And if you tap it, then you're going to get the information about it, what those things are. Right? So that's a good way to check for NOTAMs and TFRs. Again, you got to have your internet connection on for this so that we get everything in, at the right time. Here. Now, some long distance flight planning tools that we can use. So this again, I find this useful for teaching weather, and also find it useful if I'm flying a far distance. So this is the surface analysis chart, and I just turned it on. It's under layers, that thing up here, and then in the map tab, and it says surface analysis, and this just populates the whole world populates on this thing. So you can see this was a bad day to fly. That cold front just passed through, right? So you know that's going to mean. So anyway, you can teach that. Then I can also then overlay animated winds on this as well. So I can turn on winds and then speeds, and I'll get something else. Well, this is what is this? This is the I don't know what this is. They have a quick look. Oh, traffic. This is ADS-B traffic. So I can turn on traffic so I can see. I use it a lot down this way to see if it's good to stay in the traffic pattern, if there's no one out there, or whether how busy our practice area is. I can see the airplanes out there. So I can sort of make a plan. So you can do that as well. We're turning on traffic. Now that's not going to work in flight because you need an internet connection for that to work. Okay. Then this is the animated winds. So I can turn these on. You'll see them in a second. They'll be in real time. And you can use the slider bar and pick the altitude at which you want these winds to be animated at and see which way they're blowing. So for long range planning, that's helpful. Okay, it's break time. Just about. Okay, so let's take a quick break. In the chat, we're going to put some things in there. So let me grab the first thing. So the first thing is we're starting to do online ground instruction remotely. So for those of you who are in the CFI program or you're trying to finish your CFI or you're whatever you are and you feel that you're stuck or you don't understand something, a lot of, this is very boutique training. So meaning that you can find a CFI has been doing this for 15 years and not be able to get you through a CFI because they don't know anything about the fundamentals of instructing. They don't know anything about other categories in class. They know what they know. So this you have to know kind of everything. So therefore, we have three instructors who work for us, and myself. Well, there's four of us, I guess. It depends on which one you pick. So we got Rex Scholl. He works for us. He's a glider instructor as well as a airplane instructor. He's been doing CFI work with us for a long time. He's really highly polished and skilled, especially for reviewing presentations of lessons. Now, Ricky Maleta, he's assistant chief pilot at Wayman, does their CFI program for a community college, and he works for us and helps doing video stuff and all manner of things. Anyway, so and myself, so those were available for that, and there's a link in the chat that takes you to basically this page. And we just take 5 minutes, and we'll go back to the program. So don't be crazy. Okay, let's see here. Safari, this one. Okay, let's go here. So it looks like this. You click some link, and it's going to ask you if you want. Here's how it works, and this is if you want to do it, something like that. Here, you get more information, something like that. That's there. The other thing we've got is under the. If you go to our website, you get another link. Is Power Hours. So people ask two questions. One is, how do I get to see the other Power Hours? And the answer to that is only in our membership site, which is also be in the chat. It's $9 a month for it's 22 listed on the website, but for Power Hour people, it's 9. There's a link to that. But you can get the outlines of all the shows here. That's free. Just click that, and then you'll see what we've done right here. These are those shows we've done, and I'll click this one. This is what we said last week, right? And if we look at it, then the outline of and the PDF is here as well, right? And then there'll be if there's an offer, it'll be over here, and there'll be some little segment sometimes of the there'll be like a brief 3 or 4, 5, 10 minute excerpt of that particular one. So you can get those for all to see if it's worth it to you, right? So that's under the Power Hours stuff. Okay, so there's that. So yeah, we start because a lot of people get stuck, right? They just don't know. They go into a lesson. When you're getting stuck is when you go into your CFI lesson. It's going to be about the fundamentals of instructing, and your instructor has the book open, right? Has the book open while you're talking. That means they don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm just going to see they're covering what looks like the red areas seem to be good, right? Now, so what does it mean, the cognitive domain of learning? What does it fit in the whole picture? And then the answer is like, let me look. Yeah, so you don't want that. You want people who just know, right? So anyway, that's what we help you with. Let's go back to the presentation now, see if there's anything else I wanted to do here. No. Okay. So Also, we did publish our, I guess I did want to say this one thing. We published our calendar for the year. So if you want to come to one of our classes, you can only do that if you take our online class, but you go to calendar somewhere here. And you can go to whatever month and you can see they're all posted now. Okay, so there's that. All right, now let's go back to the presentation. The presentation, they call it. Okay. I think it's this one. Yeah, it's here. Okay, got it. Okay, so some extra features. Then we're going to do a hands-on demo of the thing, right? So you can see it working. Uh, nice extra features. Here we go. The airports tab. So if you go right down here at the bottom, you see these tabs right down here. This is the airports tab right here. And then solar data is available. So you can tick this little place up here where it looks like there's a sun and a cloud or a sunset or whatever. You click that, and you can get solar data for that airport, which will include sunrise, sunset, and also civil twilight. Beginning of morning civil twilight, the end of evening civil twilight will be in there as numbers, right? So you know what those are. Now, for your information, because people get this wrong all the time, you can begin any night training that's required for any rating at the end of evening civil twilight. You don't need to wait an hour after sunset. That's only to carry passengers. That's a ridiculous rule. So it's a terrible rule. But at any rate, the end of evening civil twilight occurs depending on your latitude. Like in mid latitude, it'll be somewhere around 30 minutes after sunset. So you're losing 30 minutes of nighttime by not logging it that way, not starting right then. Now, if you want to carry passengers, you have to do that an hour after sunset, which doesn't make any sense. You'll see why in a second. But okay, there's that. But all the other training you can do will be right at evening civil twilight, any night requirement. So that's where you can find the data is here. Okay. So some airports also have webcams. So, for example, the web that I'm showing you is from Wiley Post Airport. It's up in what was Barrow, Alaska, the very farthest northern city in America, in Alaska. And right now, there's no sunrise and no sunset. And you can turn on the webcam, so you can see night occurs. So you can begin logging nighttime at that time, whenever that is. But I don't know how you get carry passengers an hour after sunset, and the sun never set, never rose either. So there's that. Extra things, more things to know. You can, what's a great teaching tool, which we covered last week. You can turn on chart legends, so you can actually have legends available for you to see. But by tapping the map, if you have this option set on, I'll show you when we'll set that up in my ForeFlight when we go to the live demo. So anyway, it's under the gear, which is up here, and then you type map touch. The option is map touch actions, and then if you don't want the legends, you say no action. If you do want the legends on, the third option down allows you then, when you close that, when you tap anywhere in this map, the legend for that section will come up, or it'll be to the left, or to the left of the somewhere on the left. You'll see it. So that can be very handy when teaching, very unhandy and not very friendly when you're flying, because you could be flying across your legend, right? So I don't like that too much, but when you're not flying, it's a great thing to have. Also, you need to know how to connect the Sentry, Stratus, whatever you're connecting to, because that's done in ForeFlight by Wi-Fi on the iPad. It's not. So if you think you're going to get internet traffic in the same way we guys showed you how to get the traffic on the ground, it won't work in flight because you don't have Wi-Fi signal probably. So you need to connect to Sentry or Stratus, which is a separate ADS-B GPS AHARS system to ForeFlight. You can also customize these data fields at the bottom of these things to put other things in there if you want to. So that's in the More tab. The More tab. So okay, I think we're there. Okay, now let's bring up the iPad in real time as we have it. So I'll bring it up over here. Take me a second. And we'll talk about why I select the route. We'll look at this thing flying. We'll do a bunch of things, right, just to see. So let me get that set up. In our initial CFI class, we teach you how to teach from ForeFlight. And we also teach you how to set up ForeFlight or Zoom together so you can teach remote ground. We use a lot of technology, because, and so one of my goals for you is that when you leave CFI boot camp, that you can have all the tools you need to teach someone to fly. And let me see if I get it going here. Here it is. And that you can use all the technology. So you just come to this flight school with your iPad. You come by with an Apple Pencil, and you have your computer. That's it. That headset. You don't have your computer. A headset. That's it. So that's all you need. So here's the iPad, and this is the flight plan right here. Now, this is the way I went. But you see, there's a lot of custom waypoints in here. They have a latitude, longitude on them, right? I could easily pick a close by airport. That would have worked too. But we'll take a look in a second. So this is the way that I went. Now, if I want to first glance it, if I want to see if I can go there today, then I just go to the profile view. That's flight plan button. There's a profile view over here. And then I'll turn on clouds. So it's in the layers tab here. Clouds are on already. So let's turn off turbulence. So I can tell there are no clouds, very few clouds, or no clouds maybe today. Yeah, there's just on the way getting out of Palo Alto. You see by the Class B over here, I saw something flicker there. So there's some clouds there, but the rest of looks pretty clear that way. And I can tap on this airspace and see what this is. You know, these kind of things if I want to. It will tell me the altitudes. That's special use airspace. It also centers the map over where you touch. That kind of thing. There's an MOA there. It's okay. That's all fine, right? So we got that. And I also could turn on icing if I wanted to. And turn that off and turn icing on. So icing is low. That's a fairly low level icing. So if I were in the clouds, that IFR wouldn't be a smart idea there, probably. Okay, and now if I want to show you how I set the top of climb. So you have to have a waypoint. So there's Palo Alto. Here's and you're not seeing all of them because it's only so many things can hold. So you got to zoom out. Now you see another one, and you can pinch and zoom or whatever. But this one is the one I wanted to cross this fix at 11,500. That's what I wanted. So I tap it, and I say cross at first altitude, 11,500, and I can put whatever number I want here. So I could pick 12,500. Maybe I could do that. If it will let me. Okay. And then now I'm at 12,500 at that point. And you can also do this if you don't have the profile view, you can still do it from the edit. So you can just tap the lat long that you want, whatever you picked, whatever I'm tapping on. I think this one. And then it looks a little different, but it says set altitude, speed, and time. So that's the one we want. Then you'll see the menu looks identical to the one we saw before. It just saves a step the other way. All right, so you can do it through there. That's how you set a cruise call. Again, the number on the left, if you have it profile view over there, this number 5,000 has to be the lowest number. If not, this whole thing will be a big train wreck. Okay, so also notice if you look at this, you can see I had the profile view on right here, right? You can also see the corridor here. Here's my course right here, and you can see this is 4 nautical mile wide corridor. You can see any obstructions that are in that corridor will be drawn to your attention. So I can look all the way down through here, and I can change the corridor width if I wanted to. Maybe I needed to drill down a little bit. So I would say, let me check up here, and you can set the corridor width to something else here. So I can set it to half mile, 8 miles as far as I can go. But I'll leave it there further. But if I change it to 8, then you see it gets bigger, and then more of the obstructions will start populating in there once you give it time. So let me just change it back to 4. Oh, we can go farther. 40 miles. I didn't know those were in there. There you go. All right, that's fine. Okay, so I think that's good enough. So on that part. All right, so let's go back then and take a look at the routing again. And we'll also step through our weather briefing. So in terms of just changing a route, let's say I want to change the straight section. Maybe I would like to fly directly over this airport, directly over Sacramento International. Maybe there's some reason I want to do that. Well, I can use the rubber banding feature within ForeFlight, which I'm just going to push my finger down on the route. on anywhere in that blue thing, and I'm going to drag it over there, over here somewhere. I'll drop it. Then it will say you want to put that as a lat longitude. I guess so. It doesn't matter if the airport name were there, which kind of is here. This is the localizer. It doesn't matter, but that's fine. I don't care what it is. Now it will update the flight plan. Everything will be recalculated and updated with that in there. Okay, so you can do that. So maybe I wanted to go a little different way on the straight segment here, maybe around more this terrain. I don't know, maybe. So then I would like. Also, that's another feature I just turned on. If you put two fingers down on your ForeFlight, you'll get a ruler, and you can drag your fingers and stretch it, or so you can see how far something is. If you want to get that, that's that far. Says that. If you ever lose the route, like you don't, maybe, I don't know, maybe we lost it and we don't know where it's at. You can just take three fingers at the same time and tap down, and it will center the route over there. So it'll do that. That's another kind of useful feature sometimes if you're playing around, especially you're teaching and you have a flight plan already built. You can't remember where it was, or you don't want to struggle with it. Like a lot of times I'm sitting over here, right? I'm over here. You can see me right there. I'm on that island right there. That's where I am. So I'd say, well, I want to go teach the airspace, but then normally I have to scroll over there, but if I just, tap three down, I can do that. It comes over top of the flight plan. That's handy, right? Okay, now so now kind of have the idea of that. We can also put in altitudes, like I said. So we can do that by tapping on the fix and saying what altitude we want to be at. Set maybe the initial altitude here in South Florida. Usually the initial altitude is high enough. So initial altitude's 3,000 feet. Great, let's stay at 3,000 feet the whole way. Then you don't have much to do in flight planning. We can also we can turn on the data field, so when we're flying, we'll get information from the GPS coming inside this one. And you can see now we don't have anything, but this is basically what's in there, right? So I'm going to turn that off for teaching because it's easier on the eye. If you have ForeFlight and you have Sentry or Stratus, and you have these subscription plans, then you can also turn on synthetic vision. So you can turn that on, which will then bring in information from the GPS and give you a separate attitude heading reference system. Okay, so there's that. Okay, got that done. Now, let's look a bit about some of these airports, and then we're going to fly this route, and we'll do some other things. We'll get a weather briefing and all that in the 10 minutes we've got. So I'm going to go to the airports tab, and I'm going to use this one. This is PABR, which is the Barrow, Alaska. And here's where the solar data is. So I'm going to tap onto it, and you'll see that there's no sunrise and no sunset. And evening civil twilight occurred at 3:03 p.m. So you can begin logging night then. You got to stop logging it here. So even though the sun is not up and it's an hour past sunset, it is not night until that time occurs, 3:03. And it ends at 11:52 a.m. Now, we'll do some other airports as well, but here's the airport cams. If they're in there, they're going to be in this tab. And we can see what it looks like there. Not a lot to see right now, right? Okay, then I can also go to 3D view, which is at the top here, and I can take a look at that airport. And I can look around it. Zoom in if I want to, zoom out. Okay, I get an idea. If there's traffic there, I can turn that on and I'll see the ADS-B targets there as well. So let's go to Palo. Well, I know there'll be traffic there. So let's go to KPAO. We have a location there. Okay, and then there's no webcam there, right? You can see the solar data up here. So we can see sunset is going to be at 4:57. But evening civil twilight will occur at 5:26. So about 30 minutes later, you can be in long wait time here, not an hour past that here. Okay, and this gives you the times of that if you need it. Then we have 3D view, which is here, and you can see the ADS-B traffic around it now. That's handy to see how busy the pattern is or not. Right now, it seems like a good time to be in a pattern. I don't see anybody. One airplane, maybe, that one. Over here. Okay, so there's that. So again, there's crowdsourcing. So if I do comments, there'll be a lot of comments down here. A lot of them. So that should be fine. So we get information about Palo Alto. Kind of handy, right? great. So that's how we do that. Next thing we want to do then is to just get our weather briefing, just to see. Now, I haven't done it since yesterday. So yesterday was very no-go. Let's check today. So for that, I'll go to flight plan. And then depending on the view, but there's a share button here. So maybe edit. It's the same share button right here. See that? Doesn't matter. So I'll tap it. I'm going to choose flights. I could also send this flight plan to your instructor. So the student can send it to you, share the flight plan. It'll send a link that you click onto, and either by text or by email, or if your AirDrop, if you have that. And then you can just click it and it will open up on your ForeFlight. So, but for now, we're going to click flight so we get a briefing, right? And I'll show you two things that are in there. So the briefing is here. And we already have the briefing set up. This is where we're going to go. It's already done for us. It knows that from our flight plan. And then the briefing will show up. All right, so it will step us through the briefing. So TFR first, that could be restrictive, right? And then down here, there are some quick aheads. So there's IFR AirMet and mountain obscuration AirMet. And we can read these. We're not going to read them, but turbulence high. Here's the surface analysis chart. So it looks like the weather has gone past California now. Here's selected METARs for the route with color coding. Let us know what those are. Low IFR. Some of them are IFR. So there we can see the Central Valley is very low IFR. So, okay, out by Modesto and not Modesto, by Sacramento. Radiation fog, usually. Okay, then we just keep stepping through the PIREPs, cloud coverages, and you just get the whole idea about the weather. TAFs, wind charts, so on and so forth. So we get all that. I think you kind of, now where there's a plain language available, there'll be a tab here for it. So this is, for example, what does this mean? All right, so you can tap that and it will, to the best it's possible, it can decode it, especially METARs and TAFs. Those are a bit more obvious. Okay, so we go through all that. Great, so we've done that. Now, ForeFlight also has a nav log you can print. And I don't know if they did it because of these DPEs or like insist upon having paper or whatever. I don't know what they want. But anyway, there's this thing called nav log here. And it'll look like an old-timey nav log right there. It's got everything built in. So all the numbers are in there. So you can use that to review. You can give it to somebody, your instructor, to sign you off to go to cross country or whatever it is. I wouldn't, this one obviously is a challenging way to go because going through the with so much terrain, you would not send a student pilot, most likely to Bishop, unless you live there. I mean, you probably wouldn't do that. But for flight planning, to see how to do it, yeah. Okay, so there's the nav log. Now, of course, we need to set up an aircraft profile too, right? So you need to have one of those. So you'll find that. Let me just go back to the maps. So it's something to look at. Okay, so down here is more. So if I tap that, then you'll get a bunch of choices here, and one of them will be aircraft. I'm going to tap that. And then you can pick the airplane that you want. This is a Gulfstream. This is a Cessna 172 SP right there. That's one that's in our Palo Alto location, 784 Sierra Papa. And it has all the data in here. And we can change it. We can put in what we want. Like, we can put in whatever numbers we want in here. Climb, all this stuff, fuel consumption, equipment, so it makes the ICAO flight plan for us, the whole thing, right? So we can do that. Okay, so that's how, and if you wanted to add another one, there's a plus button here, and you just click that, and you'd add another airplane. So I'd say what airplane do you want to add? Tail number. You can use a call sign. If you want to, get rid of this one. Okay, you can delete them if you want, so that we'll keep those in there. All right, so that's fine. Let's go back to here. To fly the route, we're going to pick this thing here. Again, you only have this in Performance Plus, and I picked the speed, 20x here. So I'll go ahead and let it go. And you can see the obstructions within 1,000 feet are going to be yellow, and within 100 feet are red. And we can scrub ahead if we want to. So we're going to go this way. And you can see, is this really a good route? Am I going to be flying over some really, especially when I get where the terrain is over here? Is this really going to be working out for me? Like, do I really want to go that way? Over all those canyons and things? Maybe the freeway's off to my left a little bit. We could take a look. We could look over there if we wanted to. See, I can change the view a little bit. And this is a road. Okay, nice. It looks real close, right? Then I'm going to go this way now. Okay, and then eventually I get to where it gets flatter, and I get into Bishop. It's going to be in a little valley right there, the Owens Valley. Okay, there it is, and that's where I get to. So that's a way to fly the route. Another feature I can look is traffic and the traffic pattern, right, or the area. Kind of seen that before. I'll show it to you one more time in a different way. So turn the flight plan off, and I'm going to go over here, the area that I know because this is where our practice area is here. It's this alert area. So right there, that alert area, right here. So I'm going to go to the layers menu here and pick traffic, which is here. And then you can see all the ADS-B traffic beginning to appear. And if I go into the practice area, once it gets a little bit of time, it will give me the altitudes. So I know these two airplanes are definitely practicing. They're maneuvering because their altitudes you'd be higher if you're going somewhere. So also this one looks like coming in to land somewhere. Not so I can look and I say, well, they're practically not terrible right now. All right, let's see. How about the airport? How about Opelika Airport, Fort Lauderdale. Here we go. Here, there. Look there. Don't look too busy I could stay in the pattern, right? Looks like the pattern will be all right. So I mean, those kind of things. That's what we can do. Okay, just some little tools. That's not necessarily flight planning. That's like some things we can do with ForeFlight. Okay, so then let me just go one last view of the map here. So to review it, basically, if I set this altitudes too low, let's just remove this. Let's see. Cross it 6,000, 7,000. There, now you can see that we have a big problem, right? These are all the places where we don't have enough height for the terrain. Now, maybe it would still be good if the corridor, maybe we'd have less things to worry about if we could stay within a mile of our course, right? Because this is showing us 4 nautical miles. So I go to the gear tool here. This one, sorry. And I'll set the corridor width to 1 mile. And then, of course, you should see there's a lot less to hit, but it's still not going to be high enough, right? Still not going to be high enough. So if I push 8 miles, there'll be more terrain to hit. So it'll be a lot more. So the quarter width will put back to 4. Quarter width is there. Okay, so that's that. So that's basically flight planning within ForeFlight. That's data driven. So all of your stuff is going to be located in the performance profile for the airplane. So you got to get that. And then once that's configured, then you just start using this flight plan tool. Typically, you start with this menu, the edit menu, right here, right? And so I'm going to remove this flight plan so I can set one up from scratch, clear all. And now we're going to make another one. We'll make it from Opelika to Key West. Okay, so I'll just put in here KOPF. That's the airport we're at. And we'll go to KE. Key West. Okay. Not that. The other way. This one. That should be. Okay. Now we'll close that so we can see it. See the flight plans there. Probably a bad way to go. So I need to modify it. Let me turn off the traffic. So I don't want to go that way. So all I need to do is just if I know the airport I want to go to, like this one is a TMB. I can say insert after OPF KTMB. Now you see that flight that's inserted. But I can easily just drag the thing. So I don't want to go that way, so I just drag this over here. Like to maybe something like that. And say that's fine. And then for this one, I don't want to go over the water, so I go down over here, kind of like that. And that's it. So I can just keep doing that with the flight plan. And if I want a different altitude, I'm going at 5,000 feet, so I can say I want to go to 2,000 feet of VFR. 2,000 seems right. Okay, so I've got that, and if I look at the profile, you'll see I got airspace to deal with. Okay, fine. But maybe I wanted to go higher, like just because of water. Maybe at this point here, maybe here. So I tap it. Let's say start at. So I'll start the climb, and I'll go to 5,500. Close. And now you see ForeFlight has calculated my new top of climb, and also the new top of descent based upon the altitude. And again, we can turn on clouds with the layer tool. All of that we can do within here. No clouds really. There's no icing. I don't think so. Oh, well, maybe where Jesus is, right? But not around here, but ain't gonna be none of that. All right, so that's what we've got going on. Okay, so it's getting up to the end of everything. So I wanted to thank you for showing up today. Let me see how many of us we had today. We had quite a few. We had 752 of you, and last week we had 930. And the next week we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do it for IFR. We're going to show you how to teach IFR using ForeFlight, and how to set up a flight plan, and how to actually use the documents section to teach from it as well. So that'll be interesting. Even if you're not a instructor, some things be nice for you to have along with you as a document that you can have available just on ForeFlight. Okay, and we'll talk about best practices and all of that. So we're going to keep the room open. Wings Credit is in the chat now. Wings Credit is there, and we're going to keep the room open after we close out for X number of hours. Could be 1, could be 3, could be 5. I don't know. And we'll allow you to talk. I'll go through all the chats and say hello, and then that'll be informal. We have an informal discussion, and you'll be unmuted and you can talk. So if you want to stick around for that, go ahead and do that. You're welcome to do that. So that's it from here in good old Miami Beach. Jackie Gleason said the best audience in the world is here. All right. I'll see you next week. We're going to talk about ForeFlight and IFR. Live from CFI Boot Camp in Miami Beach, Florida, this is the Power Hour. Welcome.